Stop believing this lie that you have to have a lot of money in order to purchase a business. It is simply untrue. What if I told you that you could own a business with profits right out of the gate without spending a single dime from your pocket up front? Probably sounds like a fantasy. Probably you think I'm about to pitch you into some sort of MLM or a pyramid scheme, right? Well, buckle up, because this is actually a reality that is happening on a regular basis. And I'm going to share with you 5 different strategies that you can use to purchase a business without any cash of your own up front. Welcome back to Amy Exits, where we cover everything you need to know about buying and selling businesses. Today, we're going into the world of no money down business acquisitions. It's not just a strategy. This is literally potentially your gateway to becoming a business owner and skipping that high rate of failure in the startup world. I am a serial entrepreneur. I've owned 8 different businesses over the last 20 years. I'm currently in the process of closing on another 8 this year with a goal of owning $100 million worth of businesses within the next 5 years. Let that sink in for just a moment. 8 businesses in 20 years, and I never actually ran more than 2 at a time, versus purchasing 8 in 6 months. That is wealth acceleration. That's what that looks like. But far too many people don't think they can do it because they don't have a pile of cash just sitting around that they inherited from some rich aunt. I can guarantee you, I don't have a rich aunt. I have great aunts, but none of them have yet to leave me inheritances. And so the way that I'm funding my businesses is what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm not talking from strategy or hypothetical case studies. These are things that I am and my clients are doing on a regular basis to be able to acquire clients. Imagine this. You get to walk into your new office on day 1, not to the uncertainty of a startup, but to an existing customer base, reoccurring revenue, predictable profits, and a supportive team. Plus you have systems that you don't have to build on your own. I mean, I love a good system, but if I never have to build one again in my life, hooray. So that's not a dream. That's what it is actually like when you buy an existing business. And it's a reality that could be yours even without money for a down payment. So let's dig in to our 5 strategies that you can use to purchase a business with no money down. Number 5 is my favorite. Because it can be partnered with any of the first 4, so make sure you stay until the end. I truly believe that this is the best opportunity for wealth building today, and this opportunity looks like work. Once you have that business, you are going to dig in and you are going to spend your time, energy, and effort on making that business the best company that it can be, so that when you sell it down the road, you're able to sell it for an 8-figure exit. So here's why I'm so passionate about helping people buy businesses rather than start them. There are currently about 600,000 businesses that are listed for sale each year, and 20% of them successfully transfer ownership. The other 80% don't sell. And then the owner has to either keep working until they die or close their doors. I actually had a business owner tell me that his plan for transition was to work until he died. I was like, well, that's not a very good plan. So right now there's an estimated $25 billion worth of wealth in baby boomer businesses, and they are nearing retirement age. Many of them are past retirement age just because they don't know how to transition their business. It's like the field is ripe and ready for harvest. There are simply so many more businesses for sale than there are people trying to buy them, and that gives us the perfect opportunity to go in and purchase businesses with no money down. And you're not just buying a business, you're buying financial stability. I really want you to remember that. Because beyond the money, let's talk about a couple of other really notable reasons why you should consider buying versus building a business. It is so hard to build up a team and systems within a startup. You never have enough money to hire the people that you need. Everyone's wearing multiple hats, and you're building systems on a shoestring budget. Imagine if you could walk into a business and find a dedicated team that's ready to go with years of experience. And these aren't just your employees, they're like your brain trust. They're the ones that know what it takes to run this company, and they can train you. And let's not overlook the systems. A business that is worth its salt runs on established processes and systems. These aren't just efficiencies. They're your roadmap to scaling and growing. And why reinvent the wheel when you can step into a machine that's already fine-tuned? So buying a business is like taking cuts in line. You're skipping to the front of the line. You're not just buying a brand or inventory, you're building a legacy. You've already got customers, there's loyalty, and you're going to create something that's more likely to be able to make it to the next generation when you retire. Okay, I hope I've convinced you. I've tried really hard to convince you, but now let's jump into our financing strategies. So the first way that you can purchase a business with no money down is to partner with investors. When you're finding investors, they're going to fund the purchase. They give you the capital that you need without you having to put in a personal expenditure. If you're using an SBA loan to fund the purchase as well, you would only need an investor to pay 10% of the total purchase price, because that's all you have to pay on an SBA loan. It's a crazy low down payment. So let's do a real case study. If you were buying a business for $1 million and you were going to get an SBA loan, you would need $100,000 for the down payment. That's what you'd be looking for from an investor. And then you can pay the investor back by either giving them equity or giving them interest. And right now, we have particularly higher than normal SBA rates. They're about 10.75 when I'm making this video. And so with that, it's fairly high. You could potentially find an investor who would give you that $100,000 for less than that, and you could save money. You might be able to find somebody who would do the full purchase price, but they're making more at maybe 7.5 than they would be doing some of the other things where they've got their money and it's growing at a slower rate. So basically, you're giving them the opportunity to have partial ownership in a company or to have a good interest rate, either one, or maybe a little bit of both. And it's giving you the money that you need to get into a really good business. This could be an absolute win-win. Now, oftentimes what I see business owners do is they go to friends and family members who believe in you and they believe in the potential for the business. This can be great, but maybe your friends and family are broke. What I really want you to understand is that you can always find money for the right deal, because people with money want to put their money in somewhere that it's going to do something for them. They don't want it just sitting, and they're looking for the right opportunity. And so if you've got that right opportunity and you have something that is going to be profitable and you can see it on paper, there will always be people wanting to participate in that. Start networking with high wealth individuals, build those relationships, and then when a great deal comes along, offer them the opportunity to be a part of it. Let's talk about the pros and cons of investors. Some of the pros, you're gonna have access to significant capital. I think this is one of the big pros, you get to benefit from the investor's experience and from their networks, because they tend to know other people that could be great resources for you. On the con side, it can dilute ownership and control if you're giving away equity. And if you're giving away interest, then you have pressure to deliver returns really quickly. Okay, strategy number 2, we're gonna be talking about crowdfunding. With crowdfunding, these are platforms that are gonna allow you to raise money, small amounts from a large number of people. And it's a way not only to fund your acquisition, but also to validate the business concept with a broader audience. Some of the pros: it's going to build community and brand awareness before you even take ownership. If you do a rewards-based campaign, you don't have to pay that money back. And this may or may not work depending on how motivated your seller is to participate in this with you, which again is I'm hinting at strategy number 5. But if you are doing a rewards-based program, most likely the reward that you'll be offering will need to be fulfilled by the business that you're buying. So the business owner is going to have to be on board with that. And if you do more of a traditional crowdfunding campaign, you actually have the choice of if you're offering interest or equity. So you're in control of deciding what is the best thing for you and for this business. Now, the cons: crowdfunding is not as easy as you think it is. It's time consuming. It actually requires you to have marketing, and basically you're marketing for your money. Success isn't guaranteed, and there can be fees on the platform. Next, let's talk about assuming liabilities. In this scenario, instead of paying upfront, you agree to basically take over the business's existing liabilities. So this could either lower your purchase price, or in the right scenario, you might just be buying the business's debt. I just saw an example of this. A friend of mine's husband passed away a couple of years ago, and she inherited his business. She tried to run it for a couple of years, but it was really never her area of expertise. Definitely wasn't her passion, and the business was declining, so then she took on debt to cover the expenses, only to watch the decline continue. At this point, she just wants to move on and know that the company that her husband started will live on and that his team members will be taken care of. So she's selling the business entirely for the assumption of the liabilities. She gets to walk away. The new owner will use the business growth to pay the debt. And honestly, they're far more interested and able to generate growth than what she was. You might think, well, that opportunity is like really one-off. But is it? Is it? Like, I would imagine that there are hundreds and thousands of stories just like this one, where the business owner that currently has the business doesn't know how to turn it around, and maybe you do. Or maybe there's a part of the business that is immediately valuable and adds growth to yours that makes it so your existing business can earn enough to pay the debts of that company. So this might not be a fit for everyone, but I don't want you to think that this is a one-off thing. Stuff like this happens all the time. All right, so pros of this: lower initial purchase cost. The liabilities may be manageable if you have a solid business plan. The cons of this, I think, are also pretty apparent, which is that you're instantly inheriting debt and a company who maybe isn't currently making enough to cover their costs. So this is going to require a thorough understanding of the liabilities and the implications. And you have to ask yourself the question, is this business in too much debt to be able to pull out of? For more content like this, make sure that you give us a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you can never miss a beat on your path to business ownership. Next up, we're going to be talking about consulting for equity. If you've ever thought about using your expertise as currency, this is the way to go. Consulting for equity is where you go in and you consult with a company, and then in exchange, you are receiving ownership shares in the company. Let's dive into how this innovative approach works and what it could mean for you, and whether or not this is even something that you should consider. In consulting with equity, you are looking for taking your earned secret, the thing that you are great at, and applying it into a business that doesn't really have that going on. This is great for baby boomer businesses where they haven't really modernized, and maybe they have no online presence. Maybe they don't have a succession plan. This is more common than you might think. 60% of baby boomer business owners don't have a plan for transition. So if you come in with your unique skill set, in exchange, you get a percentage of the company. Now, what's going to happen is you're in line to become the main successor. And when a business transitions from an owner to an employee, it is a lot more likely that they're going to transition with owner financing. And so you can get in without putting money in. And it's a lot more likely that you'll also take over without putting money in. So maybe this business needs a marketing overhaul and you're great at marketing. Maybe they need a new operational strategy and you're great at operations. Maybe they need a tech upgrade and you're a great tech guy. If you have the skills that they need, you can step in and exchange for the growth and the results that you create and the work that you do, you're taking a percentage of that company. It's basically like, instead of charging your usual fees, you negotiate a stake with the business owner as payment. And it really is a win-win. The business gets your expertise without upfront costs, you get a share of the business, and you set yourself up for being the guy that business transitions to when the owner leaves, plus you get to work with them for a while. So pros, you get an immediate stake in the business. You don't have to put in any direct investment. Your equity could become significantly more valuable as the business continues to grow, thanks to you and your brilliance and contributions. And you have a say in the business and the direction before you take it over, and you really get to work side by side with that existing business owner. There are cons. What if it doesn't work? You could put in all this time and energy and effort, and if the business doesn't actually improve, you're not going to get anything to compensate you for your time and effort. So there's that. Let's talk about the long-term commitment. Unlike a typical consulting agreement, you're more tied to the business's fate, and it requires a longer-term commitment from you. So maybe that does or doesn't work for you. And then it can be kind of complex in negotiations. Valuing your service in terms of equity, like there's a little bit, you're just gonna have to go back and forth to make sure that you're really clear up front in order to avoid future agreements and disputes. That honestly right there is the number one reason why I see these types of deals struggle, is not because it wasn't potentially good for both parties, but because they didn't nail it down and get it in writing, and then later on the business owner doesn't want to give you what you think you deserve and you feel like you deserve more than he wants to give you. That is why we start off with contracts and benchmarks, and you know what you need to do in order to get shares of equity, and it's super clean and just dialed in. Out of all the strategies we've talked about, this is the one where you really are getting to test drive the business. Like, you can test it out, you can see how you like it. If you get it and you decide this, I don't actually want to buy this business, you can then sell your shares, use that money to then go buy a business that you are more interested in. Okay, back to my favorite. I said from the beginning, number 5 is my favorite, and I think this is the most important option to understand, and it's seller financing. This one is important because it can be connected with each of the other examples that we discussed earlier. Seller financing is when the business seller acts as the bank, and they allow you to pay them for the business over time. This method is perfect for buyers who can negotiate a favorable deal based on the business's future success. I have even seen owner financing deals where the owner is not asking for anything upfront, but they're just getting paid out over the course of a couple of years. So they're not actively working in the business, but they're still receiving monthly salary from the business in the form of interest plus the principal on the loan. So I've seen it work, and I think this is something that you should definitely know about, and it's really common. In fact, when you see listings, sometimes you'll even see in the listings, they're open to seller financing or they're not. Like, this is not some obscure strategy. People know about this. So the pros, you get immediate ownership with little to no money down. Potentially, you can have flexible payment terms tailored to the cash flow of the business, and you get lower interest than you get with the bank. The cons of this are that you are maybe going to need to put some collateral beyond just the business itself. You are tied to the business owner, and you need to make sure that you maintain a great relationship with them because they are now your banker. So kind of important. I personally wouldn't buy a business from someone that I don't want to have a long-term relationship with, but in this specific example, you have to have a long-term relationship with them. So there you have it, a roadmap through the terrain of buying a business without a need for the treasure chest of personal funds. All of these strategies work. All of them are used regularly. Out of the 5 strategies, which one do you think might work the best for you? Go ahead and type it below in the comments, and if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. Each business acquisition journey is really unique, and navigating it requires insight, preparation, and honestly, some courage. So if you are thirsting for more knowledge, or if you're ready to take the plunge but don't know what is the first step, we've got you covered. So the next video to go watch is how to buy a business. We're gonna walk you through the entire process, and it's gonna give you that deep dive into the world of business acquisition. It's a really comprehensive guide. You definitely wanna check it out. I will see you over there, and in the meantime, keep building, keep growing, and let's get you closer towards your 8-figure exit.